This is Android Basics, in which we bring you up to date on the things that you should know to use your Android phone.
Well, now we turn to Android Basics, and this week we continue our look at One UI. And to kick us off, Warren is going to show us how to manage various aspects of One UI's home screen.
I will be utilizing my Galaxy S21 in showing you how to manage the home screen on your Samsung running One UI 5.x. In this, we'll be looking at things like creating folders, adding things to the folder, setting home screen defaults, and things like that. Now, because the current version of TalkBack that we have coming from Samsung does not support actions in the sense of the word whereby one could use the actions in doing things, we'll be doing things a little bit differently. But whether you have the version that supports actions or not, the steps I'm going to show you here will still suffice. So first, though, I'm on my home screen as I indicated. And of course, the home screen 1 is my default. Now, let's get familiar with the layout of the home screen. Of course, all of your apps are there. So you got like 4 icons on a row. And yours may be different, but that's what I have on my S21. And it could be because it's a smaller phone. Anyway, so I got that, and I have a bunch of, rows on my phone and then pages and things like that. Now, toward the bottom, of course, we have the dock at the very bottom. And you can add things and remove things from the dock. At the very bottom of my dock, I got
Phone, out of pager.
Starting from the bottom left, I've got phone. Going right,
My apps.
I got something called My Apps, basically a shortcut from the Google Play that when I tap on it, it takes me straight to the updates and things like that. And then to the right of that,
Password manager.
I've got the Password Manager coming from Google, Password Manager, and the last item on my bottom right here
Camera.
is the Camera app. Now, there's in between this and the last row of icons, for example, the last row of the icons on this home page, I got starting from the left
Pocket casts, in pager.
to the right,
Telegram, 44 notifications.
to the right,
Naveen.
and the last item on the right
Wave editor.
is Wave Editor. Now, nestled in between this last row of icons and the dock at the very bottom are little icons that says page 1, page 2, depending on how many pages you have, including the discovery page. They're kind of very hard to find. Now, if you like to swipe, you can swipe and get through those. For example, if I swipe right,
Google Discover, out of pager.
we hear Google Discover. And if I swipe right, it should say page 1.
Page 1 of 5, default page.
And it says page 1 of 5, a default page. And of course, if you keep swiping, you'll get to the last one. Now, if you're like me and you're not a swiper, you could just put your finger in the middle there, in between this last bottom dock and the last row of icons. And there you'll encounter that as well. I'll put my finger down and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Page 2 of 5.
My finger landed on page 2 of 5. I moved to
Page
the right.
3 of 5. Page
See?
4 of 5.
See?
Page 5 of 5. Current
There we
page is
go.
last page.
So if I tap on one of these, it should take me straight to that. Or if you want, you could simply swipe from right to left to move through those pages. But that's not the focus of this preamble. The focus, however, is how to manage the home screen. With the One UI, for some reason, it doesn't say home if you encounter an empty space like it would on a Pixel device. So it makes it hard to invoke the actions on a blank screen to manage that home screen, whether you want to remove that home screen or you want to set it as a default. Now, here's a way to do it with the current version of TalkBack, which is version 13.5. that does not support actions. Now, of course, if you're using something like the S23 series and you've signed up for the beta, you will have the version 14 of TalkBack, and that supports the actions. So in the absence of that, we're going to use what works. What you want to do is do a pinching action, that is a pinching gesture. So in other words, put two fingers apart and slowly bring them together, and that pinches. And at the bottom, you'll find some things that will make it possible for you to customize the home screen. I will now pinch, and you'll hear what I'm talking about. Because I do not use sounds, you didn't hear a sound. But at the very bottom of your phone, where we saw the dock, now you'll have some icons relating to the home screen management. And if I put my finger just anywhere in the middle of the phone,
Page 1 of 5.
all you're going to hear is the page number that I'm sitting on, but you're not going to hear the icons because they are no longer in focus, even though visually they are there. But the things that have focus, however, will be the icons at the bottom that have replaced that area where the dock was. And here's what I'm talking about, starting from the bottom left, and these icons have to do with the home customization.
Wallpaper and style, button, out of pager.
There we have the wallpaper and style. To the right of that,
Themes, button.
we have themes. Then to the right of that,
Widgets, button.
we've got widgets in the last icon. On the right,
Settings, button.
settings. And this is where you can go in and customize the home settings, whether or not you would like to see the Google Discovery on the left page, or whether or not you would like to see icons get placed on your home screen every time you install an app, that kind of thing. That's where you go to do that kind of management. Now, of course, we can still move from left to right or right to left to move through the pages, or tap on a page to move to that particular page. And for example, if I put my finger down,
Page 5 of 5, current page is last page.
that's page 5. If I tap on that, it will take me to page 5, for example.
Home screen, page 5 of 5.
Home screen, page 5 of 5. Now, there's something I want to mention here, that at the top of the screen, we've got two important buttons. At the very top in the middle, you'll find
Not selected, default page, out of pager.
default page not selected. And in other words, page 5 or home screen 5 is not my default home page. That is, whenever I start my phone, it isn't going to place me on page 5 as my startup page. Now, below that is a button that says remove.
Page 5 of 5, remove, button, in pager.
Is page 5 of 5 remove? If I tap on that, it will remove my page 5 home screen and it will be gone. Now, in the event that you want to add a new page, that number of pages that I showed earlier that is nestled between the dock and the last row of icons, to the right of the last page, in this case, it'll be page 5, home screen 5. To the right of that is an icon that says Add Page. So I'll move my finger to the right,
Add page.
tap here,
Add page.
and it has added a page. And if I put my finger in the middle,
Add page, button, in pager.
I find another Add Page. So if I do that, it'll add that page.
Page 5 of 6.
There you go. So it has added a page. Now I have 6 pages. My 6th page, however, is a blank page. So now let's talk about setting home page defaults. So remember earlier I told you that we have something at the top, or two buttons at the top. There's a set as default page and then remove a home page. Now, if I want to make the blank page as my startup page, for example, I'll put my finger near the top, find and tap on Set as Default.
Not selected. Default page, out of pager.
If I tap,
Selected.
and that has been selected. Now I can go back.
Google Discover.
So I am on home page 6, and of course, it doesn't have anything to say. Now, if I swipe from left to right from the middle of the phone,
Home screen, page 5 of 6.
I am on page 5. If I swipe from right to left,
Home screen, page 6 of 6, default page.
6, and it says is my default page. So what that means is that if I start my phone, I'm going to be on a blank page. There's no need to do that now, but trust me on this one, when you do, you'll be starting on a blank page when you log onto your phone. Now, let's say we want to remove this page. Of course, you do the same thing we did, and that's doing the pinching movement. And you squeeze 2 fingers together.
Home screen, default page. Change to home screen edit mode, page 6 of 6.
So I just pinched that page 6, and now near that top, we got those 2 buttons. They're set as default, and there's a remove. I'll tap on remove, and it should remove the blank page I just created.
Page 6 of 6, remove, button.
Tap here.
Page 5 of 5.
And that
Home
home
screen,
page 6
page 5
is
of
gone.
5, default page.
I only
Home
have
screen, page 4 of 5,
page
default
5.
page.
And it tells me my page 5 is my default because the last page now becomes the default. Now, if I want to set it back to page 1 as my default, for example, then I go to page 1, for example.
Page 1 of 5.
I could tap here on page 1 of 5, or you can swipe to page 1 of 5.
Home screen,
I just
page
tapped.
1 of 5.
And now that I'm on page 1 of 5, it doesn't translate to mean that page 1, now rather the home screen 1, is now my default. That home screen is still my default. Now, in order to make my home screen 1 the default, I will need to do that pinching gesture. And once I'm on this page 1, then I tap on that set page 1 as the default. I'll show you what I'm talking about by indicating that it's not my default, because it's not saying my default. If I move my finger to the right,
Page 2 of 5.
and if I move back to the left,
Page 1 of 5.
it doesn't say it's the default. Now, if I keep going to the right to page 5, it will tell me default page. Here's what I'm talking about.
Page 2 of 5.
Keep going.
Page 3 of 5.
Keep going.
Page 4 of 5.
One more.
Page 5 of 5. Default page.
Page 5 is my default page.
Person seen. Front
Now,
door doorbell.
I'm going to do that squeezing or pinching and set the page 1 as my default. Now that I've done that, at the bottom, of course, we're going to see
Wallpaper and style. Themes. Widgets. Settings. Button.
And now near the top, those 2 buttons, we got the set as default and remove page.
Not selected. Default page.
If I tap here,
Selected.
and now that page 1, home screen 1, is now my default. And below that,
Page 1 of 5. Remove. Button. In pager.
there's a remove button. Now I need to exit the editing of the home screen by doing a back gesture.
Google Bard Mobile.
It's placing me on the first icon on my home page 1. Now, if I put my finger in between the items found between the last row of icons and the dock, I'll find those pages, and if I touch page 1, it will say default page. Here's what I'm talking about.
Page 1 of 5. Default page.
Now we hear page 1 of 5, default page. If I move right or swipe right till I get to page 5, it's not going to say default anymore. Here's what I'm talking about.
Page 2 of 5. Page 3 of 5. Page 4 of 5. Page 5 of 5. Current page is last page.
So Page 5, home screen 5, is no longer my default. Rather, the home screen 1 is my default.
Page 4 of 5, page 3 of 5, page 2 of 5, page 1 of 5, default page.
There you have it. That's my default. Now, the last thing I want to show you before handing it over to the podcast crew is how to create a folder. So you could just simply long press an icon and drag it atop one and just drop it. For example, I got Bard here.
Bard Mobile.
That's the first icon on my home screen. So I could long press.
Bard Mobile. Bard Mobile, out of pager, Google
and if
Discover.
I move my finger,
Create folder with NF Scanner.
move to the left,
Create folder with CX File Explorer.
I move it downward.
Create folder with Lookout.
So let's go ahead and create a folder using that Bard mobile app.
Lookout.
I just let go on Lookout and now it opened the folder and it's sitting on Lookout. If I move my finger to the right,
Bard Mobile.
Bard Mobile. If I close it by doing a back gesture
Folder closed.
and putting my finger down where the folder is,
Folder.
it simply says folder. I tap here.
Lookout, out of pager.
And now that I'm here where the icons are, near the top, we've got
Folder name, edit box.
folder name. You tap here to give it a name. For example, let me call it Big Dog.
Folder name. Showing English. Capital P. Voice input.
Big Dog.
Voice input stopped.
I just dictated Big Dog and double tap to stop the voice dictation. If I put my finger down,
Big Dog, edit box, editing, window home.
there is the name of my folder I just created that contains both the Lookout and the Bard Mobile. Now that I'm done with adding that name, at the bottom of the keyboard is a Done button.
Done.
Now that I've tapped on Done, I also want to mention here that below that folder name, we got a couple buttons. We got, before getting to the one on the very last right, we've got
Add apps to folder, button.
Add apps to the folder, and to the right of that,
Select folder color, button.
you can select a color for the folder. So if I tap on,
Add apps to folder, button.
and I tap here,
Navigate up, button.
now what this does is that it opens up your app drawer where you can choose an app to add to that folder you just created.
AirDocs not selected. Add voice not selected. 3D Earth Pro not selected.
And let's say
Abilify not selected.
I select something like this, I double tap,
Abilify selected.
and you could add more to it. Let's say I want to add another one.
Accessible Android not selected.
Let's say I want to add the accessible Android app,
Accessible Android
double
selected.
tap. And so now I've added two. If I put my finger near the top left corner,
Navigate up, button. 2 of 200 selected.
I am told 2 of 200 selected. And now, to finish the selection process, I should tap on the Done button at the very bottom of the screen, right in the middle.
Done button, out of grid.
Tap there.
Big Dog, edit box, folder name.
I'm back to the Big Dog folder, and I can look around and see how many icons I have in this folder.
Lookout.
Let's look out.
Bard Mobile.
Bard,
Abilify.
Abilify,
Accessible Android.
and Accessible Android. And that's how you go about adding something to a folder or creating a folder. And you can always add to it by simply dragging it over and dropping it onto that folder. Now you can decide to rename the folder later on by simply long pressing it, and you'll find the rename or change the name of the folder. I'll now hand it back to the podcast crew as we'll deliberate on these things.
I'm very pleased to hear the pinching gesture get such high profile. That doesn't work to bring up home screen settings on other launchers, does it? You have to find a blank area of the home screen. You may or
But
may not
doesn't it
have
work
to.
in MIUI? Didn't you say that? It works.
Does it work in MIUI?
Yeah, it
I
works.
don't use it. I use third-party
It works
launcher.
on Pixel Launcher
Yeah.
as
It
well.
does work on Pixel as well. So the pinching thing, Ed, is something that I know you like the pinching, and I don't
Yeah.
want to go there, because
Yes.
you know what you pinch.
Yeah,
the
when you
most.
pull.
Yeah, even I like it. Even I like it.
That's
But-
that gesture,
Yeah, exactly. But so the whole idea, because if you can't use or take advantage of that actions on a Samsung device that is running not the newer version, if you're not on the beta, then that pinching does come in handy. And to be honest, I kind of like that pinching to manage that home screen. But I think overall, another thing we didn't mention, or I didn't mention, is that you can long press an app, and if you let go, it pops up the actions. I mean, shortcuts. Rather than saying actions, it pops up the shortcuts there, so you can find things like select, or you can find things like remove or uninstall, just in as much as you would on a Pixel device. So that's another thing that you can use in that home management. So I actually like the One UI. I think I'm falling in love with it more and more when I look
How
at the
do you go
Pixel
with
launcher.
shortcuts on Pixel? Because as you said on One UI, you just long press and you see the shortcuts.
Oh yeah, it works like that on the Pixel.
Mhm. Yeah.
It does. But frankly, I like the One UI home management. Most especially, I could set which one to be my default. I haven't tried doing that on my Pixel, so it's something I should try. But I kind of really like that with the One UI. I don't know about you guys, but I'm loving the One UI. I think it's a great launcher. I wish Samsung makes it available for other phones.
I use it and I like it. It's just a Samsung device.
Yeah, and
And
you
I-
mentioned that the default home screen comes up when you first boot your device, but you can also, whatever you have set as your default home screen, you can do it if you do the home gesture twice. So if you do the home gesture, whether it be like pressing a home button, swiping up from the bottom with 2 fingers, or using TalkBack's home gesture, it will take you to the last homepage you were on. But if you do the gesture a second time, it will take you to your default homepage. So you can always get directly to that default page by doing the home gesture twice.
Nice. I think on most launchers that just opens the apps list, doesn't it? So it's good that Samsung takes you to your default page. And the shortcut thing, I think, is possibly standard. It certainly is on Hyperion
Yeah.
anyway. If you double tap and hold, it'll pop up the app
But
shortcuts.
do you guys use these up drawer on your One UI, or you just use the standard home screen?
And on Samsung, I mean, I'd change it immediately. So I can't remember. Samsung has the search bar on the home screen, but you can take it off, doesn't it?
That's true. That's another thing.
But I like
and
that.
and you can take out the weather widget as well. I know some people say, "Hey, I don't want to see the search bar, on a Pixel phone." It's a visual thing, but if you
Mhm.
can't see it, well, I don't know that it matters, but anyway, I wish Google would allow us to either resize or remove it, just like one could do on a Samsung device. So, like I said, there are so many perks going on for the One UI that when you look at it, actually, the One UI is not a bad UI at all. I really like it.
Yeah, I actually have my search bar. Like, I do like having the search bar on the home screen. I just don't like it at the bottom. I move mine to the top on my Samsung phone.
Okay,
That
do
way I
you
have
mean the
more
search? Do you mean the
icons at
search
the bottom.
for the Finder or the Google search? Because I like the Finder.
No, the
Google
Google
search.
search.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, I wanted to mention, Warren, you touched on how if you're running 13.5, or at what Samsung calls 13.5 you don't have actions as a reading control, but I just want to remind people that you can still use actions if you want. The launcher does support actions. You just, in order to get to them, you'd have to pull up your talkback menu, or if you have a gesture assigned to actions specifically, it'll open up a list of actions. So if you're one of those who prefer to use actions for things like moving an app or creating folders, if that's easier for you than double tapping, holding, and then sliding your finger around, you can still get to the actions. There's just that extra step of bringing up a menu.
Exactly. So you could assign a gesture that you could use for the actions, or you could go to the talkback menu if you add it to the talkback menu and tap on that, and then of course it's going to bring up something called actions, and you could tap on that to do that. So yeah, good reminder there, John.